Good morning, focus. There we go. Welcome to the third day of November 2016. Back out safely. This is the good life meditation for today. Let's roll. And today's a nice day. Heading out. Won't be back till tomorrow. Get off to work right now. Swing by, let's get some Starbucks. And then we'll head off to work. And even though it's not my working Friday, this is a celebration of the fact that it's a Thursday. That's a cheating a little bit. Allowing myself a Starbucks today. So, well, I just got paid by YouTube yesterday, so that's a good reason to cause to celebrate. So let's go to it. This exercise is something that I do each and every morning to prepare me for the day. There are optimally, this exercise, if I have sufficient time through the day, should take on four components. First, I lay out my thoughts before dawn, clearly now. Two, I compose those thoughts around lunchtime. I spend my lunch break sitting there and typing them up. That's the stuff that'll end up down in the description. Every day it's different. You know, the words, it's good to things that are important, it's good to speak, write, and then act. So, and then I compose those after that. In the evening after dinner, I then collect the words in the video and produce a YouTube video and upload it to YouTube. That's the, the actual part that codifies it, so to speak, codifies. That's not a right word. I just like that word. I like to say it, even though I don't use it right. That's the part that gets it down. Hey, I've got a friend today. I got a moth or something in here. And then the last part is that just before bedtime, I need to die. That's right. So you compose the thoughts. Compose the thoughts. No, compose the thoughts. No, I actually wrote it out. I can't remember. Compose the thoughts before breakfast. Compile them before lunch. Produce them before dinner, and then die before bedtime. It's much better in the little piece that I wrote. I'll have to put it on a little sticky so I can remember. A long preamble. Let's get started. I ran out of memory yesterday, so I got to keep this shorter. So there are four pieces to this. So that's kind of the piece that I mentioned there, right there. That's just my endeavor. That's how the day should unfold. This exercise, the Good Day Meditation, has four pieces. The first is the affirmation of human and civil rights. The second is the statement of my 3 life objectives. The third is the recitation of my 8, count them, 8 principles, no longer 7 after yesterday. So hope I can get them in the right order. And then 4 is the rotten day forecast. Let's do it. First, the affirmation of human and civil rights. In the course of pursuing good, it's very important to not dismiss or trample upon the rights of the individuals or of the subgroups of the society, so that individuals and subgroups need to be protected from the whole principle here is that you protect the smaller or the weaker from the greater, and you do that by identifying, here's the word, codifying the what constitutes the rights, and then looking to live according to that. And in my case, I'm not going to attempt to recreate what I think, for example, my country has attempted over 200 years to identify as human and civil rights. It's amply evident in our United States Constitution, other laws, as well as our way of life. So I simply refer to that. Where the details are necessary, we can squeeze those up or out. 2, the 3 objectives. These are the things that I'm trying to do during the day. This is the 3 most things. The difference between the objectives and the principles. The principles are the guiding factor. They kind of provide the limits of what I'm going to do. Things I don't want to step over. And then the objectives are what I seek to attain. It'll be a good day if I can yield some real fruit and some real results in terms of the objectives. And the first of these is to develop and maintain my principles. And I seem to be doing that because I've actually developed in the course of a year that I've been doing this. Only been uploading it to YouTube for a couple of weeks, but the year that I've been doing this, my principles have developed from 6 to now 8. So I guess I'm working on it, and they're getting more nuanced. So I guess there's that. I'm a little worried a little bit about if they continue at this rate, it's gonna be I'll need an hour by the end of next year to recite all this stuff. Well, I'll cross that bridge if and when I get there. The second part is the cultivation of good emotional reactions. It simply means that I want to respond well to the bumps and challenges of the day. It's kind of like, as I used that analogy about a week ago in one of the videos, it's like riding through the day on it's like a vehicle on a rough road with when I'm responding to the emotional situations well, handling my emotional reactions well, it's like a vehicle with really good suspension. It just kind of, all the bumps and everything just kind of absorbed into it. A kind of nice smooth ride through the day. When I'm not doing that, I'm jostled and jumped and barred and jarred and all over the place. That's how a day where I'm not in control of my emotional responses is versus the other. Yesterday was a really good example. I had several really noteworthy cases in my own mind where things that would usually have pushed me over a little bit, pushed over into what I mean by that is that I would have said or done or expressed something that would have been a little bit out of my control. Not bad. I'm not flying off the handle these days, but clearly being flustered, letting my emotions get the best of me. And I had a couple of incidents yesterday. One in particular, with my wife actually, where talking about challenging things, which it's important to do as a couple. Especially if you want to stay together a long time, you need to take on the challenging things. And sometimes we're guilty of pushing those back to the back burner until they start boiling over. And it's when they start boiling over, that's when things can get difficult. And we faced a little bit of that last night. And miscommunication, and I caught it. I saw it right there. And I said, there it is. There's the emotion, a little bit of frustration, and being tired, and it can, if you don't control that, it can wind up being saying something, or even using nonverbal cues that can upset or hurt the other person. And I really kept that under control. I said, okay, Kurt, this is it. I felt that pre-passion rising. The day, I'm really vulnerable to this stuff at the end of the day. I don't do well after 7 p.m. when I'm exhausted. And I felt it rising. I said, okay, there it is, Kurt. There it is. There's that hitting that big speed bump. Let's nibble this a little bit. Look at it. And I did this, in the moment. Nibble this a little bit. Nibble this emotion a little bit. Try to feel out where it's coming from, and choose my words very carefully and step reasonably through it. And then I got to the point that I finally realized, this probably isn't a good time to be discussing this. It's late at night. She's coming off of having pneumonia. I had a really challenging day. My work is very hard. It's very difficult work, and I start my days very early, and I go very hard, and I really burn both candles. And I said, you know what? So I made an appointment with her. I said, why don't we, put this on a holding pattern, put a pin in it, so to speak, and let's talk about this next Monday. And she and I agreed to do that, and avoided. We were able to get to the point of putting in a holding pattern and get through. Wow, that guy just totally ran the red light. So there's a nice little anecdote there, so to speak, from life. And then I had several things at work were the same things. And that's what this whole second objective is about, is getting to the point that you can go through your days handling more and more challenging situations without losing your composure, staying well composed. And here we go. Boy, hopefully that police officer won't. I'm going to shut this off for a second. And I'm back. I had to, sorry about that. All right, I'm back. Sorry, had a highway patrol officer just behind me there, and didn't want them to mistake this camera on my dashboard for watching YouTube or videos or TV or something like that. Imagine I get pulled over for that. Well, I wonder if this is a problem. I should ask a driving instructor. So anyway, it probably is. It's probably not the safest thing to do. Although I don't really look at the camera very much, except to take my fingers off the wheel to point my, hold up a number of fingers. So I was talking about the execution of good emotional reactions, and I gave an example poignant in my mind from yesterday. And here we go on the freeway. I'll talk up a little bit. So that's one of my 3 objectives. The third is the performance of good actions. Just doing darn good things, like Johnny Appleseed, moving through the day. Little bits of good activity here and there, trying to make the world a little better place. Per the principles that I hold so dear, and the larger mores of my culture. Let's move on to the 8 principles. The first of these, number 1, the atomic principle. Everything in the universe is made of bits and pieces, atoms flowing and changing, ever transforming into new things. Likewise, you and me. What we are today, we were not yesterday, nor will we be again tomorrow. Something else, and soon not at all. Our composition, the atoms and molecules of which we are composed, dissolving away, taken up by others and reused in that endless cycle of life. 2, the principle of nature. Everything and everyone has a particular nature. And it's a worthwhile activity to spend our time cataloging the nature of other things. I actively do this. I actually go through the day when I have a few spare moments of thought, and I look at things and I ask myself, what is the nature of that thing? For example, yesterday I was leading a committee meeting, and I was before everybody arrived. I asked myself what was the nature of a committee. To convene, to spend a certain amount of time together, to form an agenda, to address the agenda, to identify action items, to dispatch those action items to actionable individuals or groups with a deadline and expectations, to take notes, for have notes to be taken, to conclude, summarize, and have the notes dispersed. And understanding what the nature of a committee is. And to deal with the challenges of interpersonal communication and conflict resolution as we work as a group to do things that make sense. There we go. And doing that helped me, because then when finally the group formed, I basically was able to execute better, knowing what the nature of a committee is, having identified that ahead of time. I kind of knew it also, but it helps to keep it foremost. 3, the principle of the social principle. Human beings are social animals. We need one another. It's in our best interest to get together, communicate, and cooperate. We live better, and our society thrives to a greater degree. We're more able to apprehend and work towards virtuous objectives. I'll get to virtue as number 8th principle in just a moment. 4, moving along nice. 4, the principle of temperance. Temperance is the measured consumption of resources and emotions. Resources insofar as, for example, imbibing alcohol in moderation, consuming just enough food, not too much, working an appropriate amount, not too much overtime, playing but not to excess, making love well. I'll leave that to your own imagination. Maybe a little excess there if you're so inclined. And likewise, emotions. Consuming emotions. First, recognizing emotions and consuming them in limited quantities, so that we can, let them temper and color our responses, but not dominate our reactions. Not running away with our emotions. The pre-passion rises. You identify it. You nibble it a little bit. You adjust your argument and communication accordingly. Maybe allow yourself a little non-verbal bodily cues to help, if necessary, to illustrate how you're feeling, and moving forward through it. Believe me, this does not constitute suppression of emotion. It takes an incredible amount of energy and will to do that. You are actually consuming great quantities of energy in the process. And this will yield two things. One, it'll help, in terms of temperance, will yield two things. One, it will help limit our consumption footprint. Eating, drinking, consuming, playing, working less ensures that we're moving in a more streamlined manner, more efficiently through life, leaving resources for others, or for the sake of leaving resources for future generations. The better welfare of our species and the planet. And it also allows us to become stronger, developing the musculature of will to basically control our emotions, or to at least to be masters of our response. Next, this is the new one. 5 is the best seat in the house. This is an attitude of being glad for wherever you are at any time. It doesn't mean that we settle necessarily for any circumstance, but if we can strive to not wish that we were elsewhere, but to wish that we could be satisfied with where we are now, we're going to find ourselves more often than not in a satisfactory place. And I've been executing that for the last 2 or 3 days since I decided to add this, and it really does make a difference. Boy, I mean, it's looking at every circumstance as the best seat in the house. Like right now I'm riding along on the 91 freeway eastbound, as pedestrian and boring a circumstance as there could be. Yet this is the front door. This is the first seat in the on a vista of the universe. Just the very fact that I'm alive makes it so. So please don't take this as a recommendation to not strive, but instead as a reminder to myself to be satisfied with whatever lot I happen to find myself in, which is indeed an astonishing place to be. Just the fact that I'm born and alive is against the odds for all the humans it could have been. Look at me, I'm here. Wow. I know that kind of borders on whoa, wow, it must be something miraculous. But if you want to call a miracle the fact that my father's sperm and my mother's egg happened to meet, that through them and at that time, and produced me, and all of these things which are explained by natural forces and activities that we understand well, then I guess you can call that. Then thus is defined a miracle in your in such a description. I wouldn't call that such. Where I would call a miracle as a suspension of the natural order in favor of some occurrence, that's the miraculous. That's then what we're talking about here. Just living and being and sitting in this chair is not a miraculous thing. It's quite a natural thing, but still stunning and awe-inspiring. And that's the problem. It's a deficiency of vocabulary, because the vocabulary of awe tends to trespass on the domain of religion and wooey thought. We need better secular descriptions of awe. Astonishing, awe-inspiring, wondrous. These are good, but nothing quite like miraculous. Miraculous is a level up, but unfortunately that's just draped over with the supernatural, which is a big turnoff for me in that capacity, because I'm not interested in ascribing the wonder of the world to forces that can have no demonstration that they're actually real. I'd rather try to seek out and uncover the forces that are truly involved, and recognize those and give them the credit. Even if they remain a mystery, so be it. Then stand in awe at the mystery, not at the miraculous. So there you go, best seat in the house. 6, the great indifference. Wow, I like the way that leverages into the great indifference, because the best seat in the house is, for me, the seat where I can see the indifference all around me. Gotta take a sip of my little coffee. First day of the holiday colors. It looks like they've gone with a green this year with a wreath on it. Holiday, Starbucks was going through some controversy with regard to the color of their cups. That's the reason. So I better wrap this up. So the great indifference is all that stuff out there that doesn't give a damn about us, and would just as soon see us dead than alive. It reminds us that the only place we're going to find solace, comfort, love, and companionship is with one another and maybe our pets. 7, reason, the governing faculty, the force, the faculty by which we observe the facts, observe and catalog the facts of the world, and come up with arguments to explain it, which can then produce predictions that we can then watch and see how the predictions work out. If they fail, then there's probably something wrong with our argument. Or maybe we don't have enough good facts, or our facts aren't good enough. And if we're right, then, well, hey, maybe we're onto something, but hold on to it cautiously. Best possibility it can become is a theory, which still is held with tentative reserve. And we then proceed forward with more experimentations, asking others to vet our ideas. And whoa, stay over there. Finally, 8, virtue, the reason for life, the purpose of life in my little construct here. Virtue is defined in my world as the improvement of well-being. Making the world a better place for the most of people, greatest number possible, as well as the individual. Better water, better, more and clean drinking water, better and more affordable education, better and more affordable health care, improved communications, reduced world conflict, manageable population growth, a healthy environment, all these things that basically make life better for everyone as well as the planet. These are things that we can objectively agree upon and work toward. We can look at the facts and argue them, and as a group, as a species, move forward. The great thing about this is that none of this is prescribed. It is all objectively the result of observation and reason. Okay, let's move on to in conclusion, almost, and then after the conclusion, the rotten day forecast, and I'm almost done. If this dies, then that's because the battery went out, or ran out of memory. So in conclusion, the good life is a life lived where we recognize the transient nature of everything. We look for the nature of everything and abide in respect, and especially with ourselves, the nature of everything. It didn't come out well. The good life is a life where we recognize the transitional nature of all materials, that everything is going to be coming and going. And we also look for the nature of other things, catalog that nature so that we can better understand it, and and hedge our expectations accordingly, and also look for our own nature so that we can live in accordance with that and be happier and healthier and wealthier, so to speak, not to a point of excess. That we work towards social ends, which are a distilled, refined form of virtue. That we exercise temperance in all things. That we always strive to remember that we've currently got the best seat in the house. That the great indifference yawns and gapes at us like the cold emptiness that it is, and reminding us to look with love to one another's eyes, and to be good to one another, and to exercise reason as the governing faculty. There you go. Now the rotten day forecast. Today's going to be a really bad day. My family is going to die. I'm going to die. My car's going to break down. I'm going to lose my job. I've got a lot of meetings today. They're all going to go south, and I'm going to have upset stakeholders, upset managers, upset coworkers. I'm not going to be ready. My notes are going to be a shambles. My action items are going to. I'm not going to be ready. My ignorance is going to fly foremost before everything. Everyone's going to see I don't know what the heck I'm doing or talking about. Oh, and my health is about to decrease. It is about to go down, and I'm going to become disabled and be unable to work and support my family. That'll be a huge blow to my sense of who I am, because I take a lot. It means a lot to me to be a provider and someone who takes care of my family and takes care of business and pays my taxes and all that stuff. And and to be an independent person. And when I become ill later today and have to either leave my job or quit my job or go on disability, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to handle. Although I'll do what I can to take care of it. Did I say what else? Oh, I'm going to lose all the money. I'm going to continue losing all my money. Yeah, more things are on their way. More bills, debts, unexpected payments, all that kind of stuff. Got to find a way to pay for college. All those things. Well, I got those things. I got these things under control, but it's not going to remain in control. These are all going to, they're all going to fall apart. And anything else? Oh, I'm going hiking tomorrow. I'm going to die in the desert. If I don't die today, which I will, I'll die tomorrow in the desert from the heat. I'll get too far out into the desert, sprain an ankle, won't be able to get back. Nobody knows where I am. That's the end. And what a tragedy that'll be for my wife and daughter who have to get by somehow without me. That's pretty dismal, huh? I got to work at this. I got to make it really, really, really dismal. And the reason that I do this is that I'm setting expectations. A lot of time this is a Stoic principle. The reason why we get upset is that our expectations are out of proportion with reality. We expect that nobody is going to cut in front of us here on the freeway, or you fail to use their blinker or drive outside the speed limit, and we get upset every time it happens. So before we get on the freeway, if we remind ourselves that that's likely to happen, that will happen, then we're less surprised when it does. And that's what I'm simply doing on a larger scale with life in general. And the danger, of course, in my mind that I think about is that I'm setting expectations that that's what's really going to happen. But I don't believe that's the case. The power of negative thinking is that it sets a more grounded foundation, and I rely on my optimistic effort. I'm very, very optimistic, very energetic person. To my optimism and energy to prevail in spite of my negative rotten day forecast. I made it. It's still running, so I'll stop now. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Make it a good day. Make it a good life. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.